Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmIOverReacting for you all. As per usual, I'll be going through the post, giving you my opinion at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alert Independent, 33. Am I overreacting? My son was denied a visit to the school nurse by 3 different teachers. My son, 7, asked 3 different teachers at 3 different times if he could visit the nurse yesterday after he had some pretty serious coughing fits at school. He was denied each time, with them stating that they are learning important things right now, including gym class. To my knowledge, he has never been to the nurse before, so I wouldn't say that he abuses the privilege. After talking to his doctor after school, they found his coughing/wheezing to be serious enough to prescribe him a nebulizer to use every 4 hours. I'm kind of furious, but I don't want to overreact. I could understand that they didn't want to flood the nurse's office with something as simple as coughing, but for him to ask 3 times and not even be offered a cough drop is mind-boggling. We kept him home today since the medication and the nebulizer made him a little bit cranky, but I'm not sure if I should escalate this issue or not. Anybody ever been in a similar situation? Update, thank you all for the advice and words of encouragement. Sometimes it's hard for me to speak up, but I'm especially trying to change that when it comes to my children. I received a call from the principal herself regarding the issue after I emailed his teacher this morning, and she apologized profusely and said this would have been handled with all 4, yes, there were actually 4 teachers, 2 in one classroom, who were involved, as there is no policy in place that stops them from sending a student to the nurse for any reason if they ask to go. His teacher was evasive of taking any responsibility, saying that she can't speak for the other teachers, but I reminded her that she is the one who is ultimately responsible for my child, as she is his primary/homeroom teacher. The principal assured me that this has been an isolated incident after I expressed concern for other children who may be in the same predicament, since he does attend a largish school. She even went as far as to contact the superintendent on how they can avoid this in the future. I think she handled it appropriately and will be in contact if I feel as though it isn't. Thank you again. This is definitely a story of underreacting. If your child had a history of abusing the nurse's office and kind of like boy who cried wolfed himself, that's an entirely different story. But in a situation like this, definitely underreacting, especially because he needed a goddamn nebulizer after he was diagnosed by an actual medical professional. The thing is, though, the school nurse, what they would probably have him do is lay down on a shitty gym mat for a little bit, give him a cough drop and Tylenol and call it good and send him back to class. So, to be fair, the nurse probably wouldn't do shit. And it's not me being in defense of the school, actually it's quite the opposite. Classic Region 9240. Am I overreacting for asking my neighbor to stop holding her yoga classes in my backyard? So, a few months ago, my next door neighbor, Karen, started teaching yoga classes in her backyard. No big deal, right? Well, except her backyard has slowly started to spill over into my backyard. At first, it was just a mat or 2 near the fence, but now her whole group of yogis basically takes over half of my lawn every Saturday morning. One day I look out the window and they've set up an entire speaker system blasting calming nature sounds and healing frequencies. All while I'm trying to enjoy my coffee in peace. I politely asked her if she could keep her classes to her own side of the fence, and she just laughed, saying, "Oh, it's all one big green space anyway." The kicker? Last weekend they brought out incense, and suddenly my backyard smelled like a meditation retreat while I'm trying to grill burgers. I asked her again to maybe shift the class back into her own yard. She told me I was being too territorial about shared nature and should appreciate the community vibe. So, am I overreacting for wanting to reclaim my own yard, or is Karen taking namaste a bit too far? Charge her for it, $1 per square foot per hour. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind because, yeah, no, it is pretty shitty that she's on your yard and just taking it up, and despite you politely asking if she could refrain from doing so, she has decided to basically shut you down with, "Oh, it's just all nature. Why are you against nature?" Definitely, though, put up a no trespassing sign so that way if they are sitting on your lawn and something happens, you don't immediately assume liability. I'm not sure if that's 100% how that works, but I've heard some crazy stories of people slipping on ice while walking up someone's driveway and suing them for the injuries they caused. I also understand that there's a good chance that OP probably wants to avoid escalation because the moment that you call the police, you can't really take that back, and that's really going to make relationships strained in the future, and it's not going to be fun. Unless you're totally okay with burning that bridge, then yeah, go right for it. Okay, wait, hold on, this has just changed, because apparently according to OP in the comments section below, they're hopping a fence to get to their yard. It's not just like simply a shared space of greenery that's like vaguely outlined by a city council property line. No, they're hopping a fence. It's probably a small fence, like a ranch-style fence, but still, they're actively hopping a fence to be in OP's backyard to be part of the yoga lesson. At that point in time, yeah, no trespassing signs. Look at definitely calling law enforcement and possibly even think about just simply, while people are out there, yelling at them and saying, hey, get off my property. Also, make sure you get any requests that you make to your neighbor in writing so there's at least proof that you have previously attempted to get her to stop hosting classes on your lawn. Also, this might technically be a crime, but it would be really hard to prove. But then again, it is also on your property. Go and just get some of that like really gross fart spray stuff and spray it on the border of your yard. Not only is it going to attract flies, but it's not going to be an area where people are going to want to do yoga. Complex Intention 44. Am I overreacting? I got a plumber arrested. A plumber appeared at my home. I was not expecting any plumbing services. I opened the window to tell him that he's got the wrong address. He then started to try and convince me that he is at the correct address. We went back and forth. I kept telling him that I have no idea why he was led to my home, but he needs to leave. He would just stand there, staring at me in silence, then spew some more bullshit as to why he needs to check my water heater. I then woke up my sister and she went to the window to talk to him. We're an all-women household, so we were very uncomfortable with a man refusing to leave our home. She threatened to call the cops if he didn't leave, and he still remained. He then said that he can only leave if we come outside and give him our signature, so that his company knows that we gave him permission to leave. I asked him for his name so I could call the company, but he just stared at me in silence. This is when I called the company on his truck to ask them if this is normal behavior. They said it's not normal and that there should be no one at our address. I really did not want to call the police. I was attempting to avoid any escalation of the situation. The man backed his truck out of my driveway and was just sitting in my neighborhood. This is when I called the cops. They came pretty quick, but then I saw that they arrested the man. The police didn't follow up with me, but I checked the incident reports online and apparently this man was only arrested because of problems with his driver's license. I think that he was working for the company because the vehicle was picked up by a woman and not towed away by the police. I feel really guilty. I know that this man was acting very suspicious, but I hate to think that he genuinely had the wrong home and got arrested over something completely irrelevant. I almost regret calling the cops on him, but I feel very uneasy that this man was refusing to leave my property after us practically begging him to just leave. So, for starters, he wasn't arrested because of your actions, he was arrested because of his actions. Not only did he not leave when asked to and hovered around your property, but on top of that, he had something invalid with his driver's license, so no matter what, whether it was you calling the cops on him if he was pulled over at a traffic stop or something else with an interaction with the police, he was bound to be arrested no matter what. So it's not necessarily entirely on your shoulders. You just instigated the catalyst, pretty much. And yeah, you were in the right to call the police in this instance because he was being suspicious. You had asked him to leave your property. He did not. He remained. He claimed he needed some kind of signature for him to leave. When you called the company, they confirmed this is not the case, and he still persisted on your property, and then hovered around and remained. That is some extremely suspicious behavior, and I would probably call the police in an instance like that, where if I had asked someone to leave my home and they continued to just hover around and then got in their vehicle and waited outside my house, yeah, I would definitely be uncomfortable about that. Especially if they told me that I had to come outside and sign papers for them so they could leave my property. I am not comfortable with leaving the safety of my home to go and sign papers. No fan, 8348. Am I overreacting for considering this cheating? So I caught my 33 male girlfriend, 28 female, in a precarious situation today and I'm considering it emotional cheating and she says otherwise. 4 weeks ago, my girlfriend came home like 3 hours late from work. I checked her location after about 1.5 hours to make sure she was okay, and it pinged her at a park next to her work. I texted her and she replied, "I'm just hanging with some coworkers, be home soon." This isn't unusual, but the location is. Most people just hang out at the company bar. So I questioned her a little when she got home because it was a strange scenario. She said she was having a heart-to-heart with several coworkers going through some personal stuff. Okay, cool, no problem. I asked her why at the park, and she said she didn't want to be at work anymore. Okay, still fair, I get it. But my suspicions were up, not sure why, but it was a gut instinct sort of thing. So I kept my eye on her interactions with coworkers the next several days, and one dude was always very physically close to her. We work for the same company. So I started to pry into the other people that were supposedly at the park. They all said, "What are you talking about? I was never at the park." At this point, the flags are red and soaring. Fast forward to yesterday, similar situation. She got off work, spent 45 minutes at the work bar. Cool. Then her location moved to the park again. I was already in a bad spot since I just found out she lied about who was at the park the first time and didn't have a chance to confront her about it yet. But I said, screw it. I'm gonna make an appearance at the park myself. I pulled up to an adjacent neighborhood and checked to see whose cars are parked in the parking lot. Hers, and the dude who is always very physically close to her at work. So I walk up on the cars and see them both just sitting in his vehicle drinking beer. I confront them. "What's going on here?" And she just replies, "Whoa, what are you doing? We're here just drinking beers and hanging." I just said, "Interesting," and walked off. This broke up the powwow and she essentially chased me down in the street begging me to get in her car. Nah, we'll talk at home. We get home and she basically says, "We just talk. We've gotten super close over the last couple of months and he's a person I can vent to." She can't vent to me about work stuff because I'm in a management department. I'm heartbroken because it feels like cheating even though it's not physical, allegedly. She lied about who she was with and used it to spend one-on-one time with a coworker. I read her texts and they've all been flirty and she even asked him out for drinks while I was at work. Am I overreacting by calling this cheating? The tears tell me I'm not, but I could use some help. Update to all those people saying don't date your coworker, you're correct. We were dating a week before she got hired, and I wasn't in a management role or anything at the time. Definitely a bad situation as far as career goes. Also, to all the people saying I'm a stalker and controlling, she's the one that wanted to share locations at the start of the relationship. She's the one who started raising red flags before any of this occurred. My head was spinning. I just found out she lied about the first park incident 8 hours before the second one. And I had to trust my gut. Showing up to the park was the best decision I made because it took away any suspicion and made it factual. Trust me, I want my partner to have friends and their own life/hobbies, but the second the lies start is where the issue is. So I'm going to go over my reasoning in detail because last time we had a post like this, I was called out for the fact that girls can have guy friends as well. Yes, I understand that. But there are signs that a guy see that will add suspicion and create suspicion, and when those problems aren't put to rest or they can't be answered, it's going to lead to some conclusions that may not be congruent with reality. So let's talk about the ones in this one that definitely lead to me believing that she's at least emotionally cheating. 1. The flirty text messages. 2. The fact that she feels like she needs to lie to her boyfriend about what she's doing, and the fact that she's going to a park saying that she's with other people when she's not. Sure, there could be the fact that she has trust issues with her boyfriend, but it could also be the fact that she just does not want him to know what she's up to. I also find it odd that they are in the guy's car and drinking while chatting. That definitely adds to more suspicion. She's also sharing information with him that she's uncomfortable with sharing with her boyfriend. I understand that some of it might be workplace drama, but perhaps not all of it is. We don't know that. That's what she's claiming after sharing flirty text messages with this guy. And as a guy, if there's information that you're willing to share with someone else that you might see as a potential threat in the relationship that you won't share with your boyfriend, that does feel like a form of emotional cheating. And the final factor is that when she was caught, she got defensive and was already in damage control mode. And even if it is just a guy friend, there is still the fact that she just lied to her boyfriend about what she was doing, because she lied about being with friends from work to sit in a guy's car, drink beer with him in a park, just the two of them. That definitely is suspicious as hell. And if you're thinking, well, a girl can still have guy friends and maybe she just wants to vent, think about the situation in reverse. If you reverse the role and you've got your boyfriend sitting in some girl's car or having some girl in his car and they're drinking beer together in a secluded parking lot, what are you gonna assume? I'm sorry I'm so on edge, but we had a post where it seemed pretty obvious that the girlfriend in the story was at least doing something illicit with another guy, and I got called out because girls can have guy friends. Yes, I get that. Wife in need of help. Am I overreacting that my husband of 8 years came out as gay, wants a divorce, and is trying to take everything, including our kids? I, 33 female, have been married to my husband, 34 male, for 8 years, and we have 2 beautiful children together, 6 female and 4 male. Up until recently, I thought we had a good marriage. We've had our ups and downs, but nothing that ever made me think he was unhappy or that our relationship was falling apart. A few months ago, my husband sat me down and told me that he's gay and has only recently realized it. He said he needs to live his truth and wants a divorce. I was blindsided. I never saw this coming, and I feel like my entire world has been flipped upside down. But I understand that this is a big moment for him, and I want to be supportive. But I'm also hurt, angry, and heartbroken. Here is where things get worse. Not only is he asking for a divorce, but he's also trying to take almost everything in the process. He's the main breadwinner in our family, and because of that, he's arguing that he should get most of our assets, including the house. We both contributed to our savings and household, but since his salary is higher, he feels entitled to more. And if that wasn't enough, he's also filing for full custody of our kids. He says he's been a very involved father, which is true, but I'm just as involved, if not more. I've been the primary caregiver since they were born. Yes, I've struggled with anxiety and depression in the past, but I've worked hard to manage it and be there for our children. Now he's using that against me to try and take them away. I feel like he's not just ending our marriage, but he's ripping my entire life apart. I get that he's going through a lot, but I don't think that it's fair that he's trying to take everything, our home, our savings, and worst of all, our children. I feel like he's being selfish, trying to secure his future at the expense of mine and the kids. It's like I'm being punished for something I had no control over. And he says I'm being unreasonable for not wanting to let him take the lead in the divorce or for being upset about what he's asking for. He claims he's trying to be fair, but I can't help but feel like I'm being taken advantage of. First of all, lawyer up. They're going to give you more help and have more information and resources for you than Reddit will ever be able to give you. Just get a lawyer, that's for certain. Now, when it comes to the first part of this, it does happen where a gay man is forced by social conditions to remain in the closet and live a life that he is not happy with, and sometimes they end up finally coming out and want to leave their best life, and yeah, it hurts, but at the same time, sometimes shit like this happens. And it was honorable for the wife to be initially supportive while understandably hurt, angry, and heartbroken. Where the line is drawn and where things become unreasonable is what's going on afterwards, where he's basically trying to destroy his ex-wife's life in return so he can build up a new life that he would prefer to have. Like, dude, yeah, it sucks being in the closet for that long and living a life that you're unhappy with. But that doesn't give you the right to tear down your ex-wife's life just because you've now discovered yourself. Part of me, because of how cruel this guy's being, is wondering if this is just a front so he can throw his wife out of the picture, get an entirely new life, and then marry another girl and just move on. Like, because of how malicious he's being, I do wonder if it's a front. Not saying, of course, that gay people are perfect little angels and capable of being wicked and vindictive. Just saying that this guy is fucking crazy and being an asshole, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were ulterior motives involved because he's already showing that he has ulterior motives to the divorce, walking in with the house, the kids, the savings, and everything, and leaving his ex-wife with nothing. That's fucked up behavior. Puzzle-headed frame, 439. Am I overreacting? My friend found my husband on Tinder. I, 29 female, and my husband, 38 male, are expecting our first baby, and I'm 30 weeks pregnant. My coworker, who's also a good friend, approached me at work, asking, "Does your husband have a brother that looks just like him?" I said, "Yeah, he does. Why?" Then she asked, "Is his name John?" To which I responded, "No, it's not, actually." Then she explained that she was scrolling Tinder and came across this profile that looks just like my husband. She showed me the screenshots, and I was shocked to see that my husband is currently on Tinder and using a fake name of John. Now, some backstory. We actually met on Tinder and he used the same photo for this profile as he did when I came across his profile, and also the same biography. I was out of town working, about 100 miles. My friend has her Tinder set to the farthest distance radius possible. When I found out this information, my theory now is he must use Tinder to try and hook up with women while I'm away, as I go out of town for work for a couple of days on a regular basis. Either that, or is this a one-off thing? Because his Tinder hasn't changed since I met him on there. I'm worried he's had Tinder on and off our whole relationship. Am I overreacting? Should I blow up our whole lives and marriage with a baby on the way? I haven't yet approached him about this because I don't know the best way to go about it, but I have screenshots and everything. And now that I'm back home, I've been distant and he keeps asking what's wrong. So there is an update to this one, but beforehand I do want to give 2 cents real quick. Just because there's some red flags attached to this that are commonly used by scammers. So, real quick, confrontation is probably going to be the best option in a scenario like this, and if necessary, take any precautions to make sure that your safety is ensured. Because there is a chance, and this may not be the chance here, but this is something that does happen, where sometimes you'll have Tinder scammers go and they'll grab a random profile, change the name, take the previous profile pictures, which the only reason why I'm thinking of this is because the photos are from 8 years ago, which is a little odd, and they just simply create a new profile, use some fake stuff, and kind of create a new persona by using their photos, and use that to essentially do the pig butchering scam. And as time has gone, this has become not that uncommon. Is this the scenario here? Possibly, but we have an update that'll actually kind of dig into that more. I'm more of pointing this out as, hey, this can happen. It's not always the case, but it definitely can. However, in this specific circumstance, I will probably put my money on the fact that it's actually the husband who's doing this, and he's waiting for his wife to be out of town. He probably re-downloads Tinder, signs in with a specific account, and then bada bing bada boom. So let's find out. Update. I confronted my husband with the news that my friend found his Tinder profile. Many of you have wondered if it's the old account from 8 years ago that he just never deleted. To this, I know for a fact it's not. Reasons? 1. I went back through the old photos and found the screenshots I took of his profile 8 years ago, and it turns out it's not the exact same. Some photos are the same, particularly the first one, so it made me think it was the same profile. Also, the caption is slightly different, the difference of a single emoji. 2. The name changed to John. 3. The updated selections such as dream job, lifestyle, selections, and interests. These all had selections with things that sound like him. These sections are new from when I used Tinder 8 years ago. 4. Above his name and age section, on the first picture you come across while swiping Tinder, it says active. I also have seen many of you comment and also read online that this means he's been using the account in some capacity recently. As in, at least, in the last 2 weeks. Haven't been able to nail down an actual time frame. 5. People are also saying Tinder will not recommend profiles of people who are not using the app. They kind of just remove dormant users from the algorithm. 6. He is attractive enough to have someone want to use his photos, but reason 1 also rules out the catfish theory. 2 of the photos are different from the 8 years ago profile, although still old, and I've seen them before, so this is why I believed it was the same. No one would have access to them. He doesn't have social media. Seems I'm not the only one who maybe thought the pig butchering theory could be correct. I decided I would just talk to him rather than put myself through the stress of trying to catch him on a date, if you like pina coladas style. Being pregnant, I'm really trying to stay calm and as low stress as possible for the health of my baby. Plus, tricking, trapping in relationships, it just isn't my style. In my mind, he's already caught. The reasons I listed above are enough proof to me. So, as many of you and myself predicted, he's resorted to gaslighting and lying. He vehemently denies that he's been using Tinder, meeting other women, or that he has had sex with anyone else, yet offers no explanation for the presence of his Tinder profile. He implores me to think logically about when he could do this, as he's home with me every night, which is true, but I had to remind him, I leave home alone for at least a couple of days per month. He insists that he loves me and is excited for our baby, etc., but when I asked him to see his phone, he refused, saying, I don't want to be that couple who looks through each other's phones. I told him, given this situation, if you won't let me check your phone, then I cannot trust or believe you, and will have to assume the worst. In my mind, we had been very happy and content recently. Things have just felt good. This just goes to show that you never really know a person. I believe there must be something deeply wrong with him or a relationship to want to cheat, especially at this happy time. I've moved into the guest room for now while I plan my next move. Yes, I will be getting an STD check. Thank you all for the advice, support, and kind words. It's instilled a sense of confidence in me to handle this. This sucks, because this is pretty much like 8 years being thrown out, and you also have a child in the way at 7.5 weeks into the pregnancy, by the way. So, like, you're pretty deep into this. And walking away is definitely going to be an emotionally and financially difficult thing to do. So the question, of course, would be posed, well, if I walk away, I would potentially be putting my child's future at risk, but I would be happier. But if you stay, then you're putting your happiness at risk for your child's future, and, there have been situations where a parent will grow to resent their child because they stayed in a relationship/marriage where infidelity was involved, they just weren't happy for the children. So, I don't know. I don't know what I would do in this scenario. This is a tricky bitch. What would you do? Like, I don't know what I would do in this scenario. I really don't, because of course the easiest thing is going to be, well, just leave. But it's complicated because of the child, and like, who knows what their finances look like? I mean, if she's able to support herself and the child, then yeah, fuck it, go right ahead and bail. But if not, like what happens then? Do you become like subservient in the relationship because you know that you're dependent on the bastard that lied and gaslight you? Or what? Like, fuck. Like the obvious answer, of course, like I'm not denying this, is to get out of the relationship, but the repercussions of that cannot be ignored and need to be accounted for in the equation. So with all that in mind, what would you do? Would you try to give a second chance and go through couples counseling and maybe see if you can mend things up a little bit? Or because he lied about it and gaslit and decided to, be so secretive and obviously just is a fucking liar, do you just bounce and take that loss? Or maybe there's a third option that I'm just not aware of, but seriously, what would you do in a situation like this? Because this is devastating. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.